So the school district is undertaking another referendum project as proposed. Those projects have been submitted to the Department of Education. They're touching all of the schools, including the schools in Hopewell Township. And so the projects that are before you this evening include the following. The biggest project is an addition on the Bear Tavern Elementary School. Why? Because of potential pre-K expansion, pre-kindergarten program expansion, the early childhood expansion initiative that is taking place in New Jersey right now. So Bear Tavern is proposed to receive a 10 classroom addition. Very little other work is being done on the site at Bear Tavern other than the improvements that are needed related to that project. There is going to be an emergency access lane, stormwater improvements, and so forth. And that addition will be constructed in the back of the site, okay? So that's Bear Tavern Elementary School. Over at the athletic fields at Timberlane, AFT, we are going to take an existing natural turf, actually 2 fields, and we're going to put synthetic turf upon them, okay? That is all that's included in that project. It is only going to be turf. There are no other site improvements planned. There's no lighting. Obviously, there will be stormwater management that has to be done. There's not going to be any permanent bleachers. There's not going to be any parking expansion. It's just going to be taking the footprint of those natural turf fields and making them synthetic turf, okay? Another project we have planned is over at Timberlane Middle School, and that is to revamp and refurbish the main entrance to that building that's deteriorating. So our thought right now is to sort of pay homage to the work we did over at the high school some years ago. You may recall the front entrance of the high school, and we would envision Timberlane's entrance to have sort of the same type of design language, but on a smaller scale. So that is the project actually at Timberlane Middle School. Behind the high school, we're going to be resurfacing the parking lot where the solar is located and some of the driveways. There's some curb and sidewalk replacement. That's essentially a restoration project. There's no increase in footprint there. There's no plans to add any additional concrete sidewalks or anything. All we're doing there is restoring what's already present, okay? So those are the 4 projects we have before you this evening.
And you had there's also a snack and bathrooms at
Sorry about that.
the high school.
At the high school, right. To construct an outbuilding at the high school adjacent to the football field, which will contain a toilet room and concession stand, okay? And also to add some visitor bleachers, we hope, to basically in the footprint of what's out there right now. More temporary bleachers are there now to construct a more permanent structure. Thank you.
Did you have any plans or anything that you're going to show or share? No.
Oh,
or did you just want questions?
Well, we submitted our exhibits already, but I mean, we can certainly walk through them if you like.
Yeah, does someone have them to bring them up? Because I think I like looking at a plan.
I think that would be
questions are being asked and answered. I don't know if someone can bring them up. There weren't that many, but.
Would you like me to bring them up, George?
Yeah, Dan, can you bring those up? Thanks.
I think we'll probably start with the
I
high
have
school.
Dan from my office is on too. He's our project associate. He's gonna bail me out.
You just enable the sharing, and I'll bring them up for you.
Yeah, could just give Dan screen share, please.
You should be able to share.
Thank you.
Okay, so Dan, if you're going to testify at all, we're going to have to swear you in. But if you're just sharing, then then that's fine. Just so you know,
Yeah, no problem.
Okay. So if you can, let's start with the high school because I think that's probably the easiest, the most straightforward.
Okay. Yep.
And while he's doing that, I believe that one of the recommendations that we should be making is that because none of these applications showed any exterior lighting, but I'm sure there will be, especially the concession stand, right, is going to have some exterior lighting. The new building around Timber Lane is obviously going to have exterior lighting at all the egress doors. But we have no lighting plan and nothing submitted. So I think one of our recommendations is that all of the projects should comply with the Hopewell Township lighting ordinance.
Sure, no problem. We comply.
All right, everyone should be able to see that. George, if you want to walk them through, and I'll zoom in as I go.
Yeah, so Dan, just focus on, we'll get the parking out of the way on the upper left there where the solar lot is, okay? So you can see that area hatched. That's essentially the extent of the parking lot restoration work we had just talked about earlier, okay?
All right,
And then-
Katie, since this is a fluid application and we're under a time limit, I drafted a sketchy resolution, but in lieu of the resolution, since any recommendations were made, like Karen's recommendations, you'll have to send a letter to the authorities, the HV, you got it, okay. And then we'll memorialize a resolution next month. Okay,
Yes.
sorry, George, go ahead.
Sure. So Dan, just if you could point out the area where the concession stand is going. This is just inside the gate. If you're familiar with that site, there's a structure there right now. We're going to replace that with a permanent structure. It'll be bigger than the footprint of what's there now, but not much bigger. Okay. So that's, well, again, bathrooms in there and a concession stand. Now give us ADA accessibility down there and improve the facilities for everyone.
So I did have two questions about this.
Sure.
First, because tonight you testified that you might want to increase the visitor stands, would that involve regrading? Because I know it is sloped back there.
No, I don't think
the
so. I
right.
think
The
because I
visitors
think we
to
would,
the right. Yeah.
no, I think we have a pad there now, and I would envision us staying within that same footprint.
Okay.
I really don't think we're going to be making that any bigger.
And then my second question was with the solar canopy. Is there any plan to replace the LEDs underneath that?
That project was done by Public Service, not by the school district, and they own all of that structure. I'm not aware of any plans to do that. No, we don't have any plans to do that.
I'm sorry, Mr. Dewey, could you describe those improvements in that parking lot?
In the parking lot, that's repaving. We're just going to do pavement restoration there. That parking lot is just deteriorated.
Okay. No expansion, no restriping. I mean,
Right, as I testified.
reconfiguration
No
of
expansion.
lots, drainage.
Right. No footprint. No footprint changes there. Nope.
All right, thank you.
Sure.
Okay, so that seemed pretty straight. Did anyone else have any questions about this project? And I think because the projects are all relatively small, we are going to go through each with questions from the board, and then we will open them all up to the public for any of the sites. But we'll go through each one first with the board and the board's professionals.
Okay. Dan, you want to bring the next one up? Okay, so here's Timber Lane. So on the left side, the hatched area, that represents the two fields that will be converted to synthetic turf. That is the extent of that project. There are no parking improvements. As I testified earlier, no lighting is being installed with this project. No permanent structures of any sort. It's just taking the turf field area and putting synthetic turf over it. And there'll be, of course, the necessary stormwater management improvements that have to be made related to that project. Okay. And then, Dan, if you could just go to the area. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Sorry. Do you have another one for Timberlane?
Yeah, there's just
okay.
the entrance to Timberlane. And this hasn't been designed yet, but we'll show you where that's going to go. This is our entrance refurbishment. And if you're familiar with Timberlane, there's that tall brick structure that needs to be taken down, and we need to rebuild that entire area. There's a demolition. We're going to recreate an entrance canopy type design. I envision something similar to the high school, but on a smaller scale.
Does that mean that there will be only full cutoff light fixtures in there? So you're
All of
complying
it-
with the township, nothing surface mounted like is at the high school right now?
Well, we haven't thought that far along in the design, but we'll certainly, come back as a courtesy review and show that, sure, no problem. As we did with the high school and the other projects.
I did have a question because I saw on a note, there's a note on the drawings that asks for a new well at Timberlane. Can you explain why you're putting in a new well?
A well at Timberlane.
It was in the general notes.
It's the sister well, George.
The sister well. Oh, the sister well at Timber. Oh, yeah, for redundancy. Oh, yeah, because of the failure of a well pump. So yes, we have to drill a additional well at Timberlane, also at Bear Tavern, to have redundancy in the event of pump failure or pipe failure.
Is that a new rule?
It is a choice made by the school district so that they can continue to operate school if they have a failure in the primary well.
And did you consider enhancing the connection to public water as part of this?
Yes, we did, but it's not feasible.
Why not?
Water company. We can't get water there. There's no plans to run lines there. The nearest water lines are quite far from there.
Is there nothing you can do to get
main there.
redundancy than another well? Can't you have redundant pumps? Why do you need redundant wells?
The engineers in the school district that they made the choice to put the second well in place. And then they'll meet all of the regulations are required to meet under the DEP jurisdiction for that.
I thought that there was a water main and pipe there from Pennington Borough, but I could be mistaken.
Not to my knowledge. We have a forced main for sanitary down to Jacobs Creek, but there's no water there, and there's no water nearby.
So there's water that goes to the high school, but it didn't extend over to Timberlane, was what I recall from
No, that might be
That's
right.
the
correct.
initial,
That's
from
correct.
the initial back Timberlane
Yeah,
field.
there's not enough water pressure over there.
We were hoping that they could get a connection from the high school over, but
Yeah,
they were
well,
they were
they don't
not
have
able
enough.
to years ago.
They don't have enough water pressure right now, or they didn't.
But-
Maybe they did something to improve it since then. But at the time we looked at it, they did not have enough water pressure to hook us up.
But I am concerned with a new well and two wells potentially being used. If the purpose of the second well is just for redundancy and it's not a water supply issue, can't you build? I don't understand, and I haven't heard an explanation of why you can't have redundancy through two pumps versus two wells.
I don't know the answer to that question. I'll have to ask the engineer that question.
Is Mr. Quinn allowed to speak, or does he have to be sworn in as well?
He would
He'll
have to be sworn in,
sworn in, yes.
but he can be sworn in.
Tom, you want to speak on that?
Who's Tom?
My director of facilities, Tom Quinn.
All right, where are you, Tom? Need to see you to swear you in.
Tom, you're muted.
I'm right here.
All right, Tom, you want to raise your right hand, please? Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right, you want to state your name and your affiliation with the, for lack of a better term, the applicant at this point?
Thomas Quinn. I'm the Director of Facilities for Hopewell Valley Regional School District.
Okay.
All right, so what were you looking for me to speak on?
So do you have an answer as far as why there's being another well drilled as opposed to just putting in a redundant pump?
There's only one, when they drill a well, there's one cylinder that goes down and the tubing goes down to the pump and the motor for it. So you can't put a redundancy within that. So you have to put a sister well that would be the exact same thing. We're not drawing any more water. it would run on a lead lag, so that we would run one month, run another one another month. But if one fails, as we had happen in this past fall, we're not scrambling to do anything. We can just flip a switch and we have full water back to the building.
So the two wells would have a selector switch so that they could not both run simultaneously. Is that what I'm hearing? And maybe that can be a condition?
That's correct. They would not be running simultaneously. It's just a back and forth. We would never increase the amount of water draw other than if a population increase.
I think that's helpful, Madam Chair. The two other issues I remember in the area was there was a water pressure concern when back timber lane was being constructed. That solution just articulated helps address that. But I also I'll have to go back and look, but aren't there some concerns from a health and safety standpoint around some of the forever chemicals?
You want me to speak on that?
Tom, you can talk about the filters that we put in.
Sure. Both Timberlane and Bear Tavern are equipped with filtration systems that filter out the PFAS or forever chemicals. Coming out of our filtration system is non-detect.
Thank you.
And that project was, Tom, overseen by the DEP oversaw that, or who oversaw that?
Just about everybody. DEP, Hopewell Valley, Department of Health, Mercer County Water, everybody was involved in it, along with our environmental people.
Tom, do you want to again state what your affiliation is with HVSD? You're the director of?
I'm the director of facilities.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair, if I might, I know for a fact that when, and Mr. Quinn might have to elaborate on this, but when a non-community water system, and I don't know if the Timberlane Middle School is part of that, there's a thing called firm capacity, and that's the amount of water that water system is able to deliver. And that is calculated based on if your biggest well is considered to be out of service. So that's why often water systems drill a duplicate well, even if they have no intent to use it. It's essentially, it's a backup. So they can show to DP that they can deliver the required water outside of some catastrophic failure in a well. And that's not just the pump, but for example, if the well caved in, if the well casing failed. So that's often why duplicate wells are drilled.
Okay. And I heard tonight that this is true at Bear Tavern as well, which I didn't see on the plans, but you're saying that what we're talking about now at Timberlane is also applying at the Bear Tavern site? Is that true?
Yes.
Okay.
But I would like to ask one question on the water usage. Do you anticipate that the turf field will increase water demand because they'll be essentially dousing or cooling of the turf field during play hours?
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
And so I think from what I've heard, I think, again, as we're talking about conditions, I think we need two other conditions associated with these new wells or redundant wells. One is that the redundant well operation is configured with a selector switch so that both wells cannot operate simultaneously. And that the other condition is that it should go, the wells and all the permits for the well should go before the Hopewell Township Health Department, because I did not see any health department review memo, but they typically review wells and septic fields. And I'm sure there's some sort of a report. I don't know. One of our professional engineers can probably say what the wording should be. But I think our health department needs to get involved, right?
Yeah, I
And-
don't want to speak on behalf of the health department. I think at this juncture, there was probably not enough detail for them to weigh in on things like that. I don't know all that detail was laid out with regards to, additional wells and demand and things like that.
Right, but I'm saying that whatever they're doing, and when they do the water test and everything has to be shared with the Hopewell Township Health Department that
Great.
regulates all that stuff. So just as a condition that they're involved in the review process.
Are you accepting that recommendation, those recommendations, Mr. Quinn?
Yes.
Okay, anyone else? And I think we can move on to Bear Tavern.
Okay, so Dan's got his hand on the addition and blow that up, maybe just a little bit, Dan, if you could. Thank you. Okay, so you can see the site of the addition.
Existing.
Yep, right there at the back of the school. So that's the existing plan, right, Dan?
Yep.
Okay, so that's what we have now. We have an area in the back, flat, hard surface play area with basketball. And then if you could, Dan, and then this is the proposed.
And there were 2 trailers there that are being demoed.
That's correct. Yep, they're going to be going away. Yep. And that's the plan for Bear Tavern. And there's the addition.
Is there any added hardscape for the outdoor play area that's being lost to the building?
There'll be some supplemental. If anything's being lost will be replaced. But as far as the actual design, it hasn't been completed yet.
So Jim, I mean, that's impervious coverage and stuff. How do you want to handle that and review that?
Well, we'll follow the regulations for stormwater design, of course.
Right. So I think I put this in my report, but I think at this point, virtually every one of these facilities is subject to the major stormwater rules. So what that means in effect is any increase in impervious coverage would have to be mitigated. So the high school, again, this is if there's a net increase. I don't know for certain because there weren't calculations, but so the high school, the Timberlane and Bear Tavern, they would all have to mitigate any increase in impervious surfaces. And that is not something that travels outside capital review. That is something that the municipality would review under our MS4 permitting stormwater requirements. So, and I think Mr. Duvet, recognized that. So
That's correct.
all of these facilities at some point may have to come back for stormwater review, depending on whether there's net increases in stormwater.
We'll comply with all of the requirements, municipal, DRCC. I don't know. I don't think we'll have any DEP triggers here, but full compliance, of course.
And is the intent to return the area between the existing building and the new addition to green? Like,
Yeah, we have a plan to put some type of space there for the kids. Yeah,
because right now it's it's macadam, but yeah.
Right. So essentially, if that addition goes over a basketball court, for example, there's a no net increase, but there's just not enough detail at this point to make that determination.
Nope, understood.
But you're saying that the hardscape would be replaced, so there will be an increase.
I'm not saying there won't be an increase. I didn't say. I don't know if there is, but I think there may be a slight increase. We'll have to see how much of an increase it is and what it triggers. But yes, we'll have to put some hard surface back in, and the area between the 2 buildings. So that'll all have to be figured out when it's designed.
Right. Well, I guess what I'm more concerned about, which maybe I shouldn't be on the planning board, but I'm more concerned about the kids having an outdoor play area where they can go when there's snow on the ground and everything else at recess and get outside and run around and expend some of the energy. And if you take away the hardscape and you don't replace it with an equal amount of hardscape, they're going to have less play surface.
Our intent is to put in the needed hardscape into the project that comes out of the design.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, there's early childhood play considerations. You know, it may end up being different than what they have now, but it will certainly be more than adequate for the children.
Madam Chair, you can certainly incorporate that among our recommendations as
Yes.
part of this review.
Mhm.
Yeah. Do you have some wording that you'd want to throw out there? You can probably word it better than I can. And that the outdoor hardscape play surface will be
I think you're
restored,
looking
or I don't know.
that it's replaced in equal amount or kind, basically.
Yeah, an equal. Yep. That works.
Sufficient for the program and the needs of the school and all the
Right.
children. Yes, correct.
Right.
It may be a combination of hard and soft surface play. It may be that they have too much hard surface. We'll have to see what the design shows us when we're finished. We have playgrounds at design as well. So
Right.
it could
And
be
I
different.
saw Mr. Facino was on the call. I don't know if, from a fire standpoint, if
Yep.
he's had a chance to look at this and the access around the buildings.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I've had a chance to look. There's really nothing planned at the moment, although I am sure in their due diligence will have proper fire access to the additions. And I would just request that we set up somehow. One of the recommendations is that they work in conjunction with our office to make sure that it's adequate, which I'm sure they will do anyway, but it doesn't hurt to have.
As we all remember from last time, I think we
Yep.
work very closely together on
Yep.
access
Very
around
well.
all the buildings. Andy will certainly, you'll be involved in the process.
Yep, thank you.
You got it.
Okay. So Frank, I think we have that additional condition that they consult with the Hopewell Township Fire Commissioners.
Correct. All right, Katie, you'll incorporate that in your letter? Katie? Is Katie still with us?
I was doing the thumbs up. Yes, no
Okay, I
problem.
didn't see you. Okay.
Did any other member of the board have any questions or comments on any of these plans? So I'm hearing none, seeing none. So I am going to open it up to members of the public. Is there any member of the public who has any comments
Before
or
we do
questions?
that, Madam
sorry.
Chairperson, Mr. Duthie, I assume you reviewed Mr. Banish's April 13th report and Mr. Hutzelman's April 18th, 2024 report.
I
And I
did.
assume that you're accepting all of the recommendations and comments that were made in those reports?
I didn't see anything of concern.
Sorry, Madam Chair, before we turn it over to the public, if I could just.
Sure.
So, Mr. Dufy or Mr. Quinn, could you, I'm not entirely familiar with all of the schools. Can you confirm, I understand that the high school, I believe Timberlane is on public sewer. Is that correct?
Is what? Timberlane is what?
Connected to public sewer?
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Okay. And Timberlane, I believe, discharges to Elsa further down Bear Tavern through Jansen. Is that correct?
Bear Tavern does that.
Yeah, that's where Bear Tavern
Yeah, I'm
goes.
sorry, whatever.
Bear Tavern is on enforcement towards,
Yes.
right, towards Jacobs.
So any increased wastewater generation would be all going to public sewer, correct? There's no on-site septics
Correct.
for these facilities?
No on-site disposal.
Okay. All right, thank you. That's all I had, Madam Chair.
Okay, so we are going to open it up for any member of the public. If you can unmute your mic or raise your hand with the raise your hand icon. Turn on your camera and wave so we can see you.
I don't think there's anyone.
Okay, and we'll close the public comment session. So we did have a series of recommendations, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. One regarding the lighting complying with the township ordinance that there's no lighting on the new turf fields, that the wells be operated not in the wells cannot operate, the redundant well cannot operate simultaneously with the existing well. They're going to consult with the fire commissioners and consult with the health department regarding the drilling of the wells. Did I miss anything?
Outdoor
And
playscape.
comply with the recommendations of the professionals' reports.
Right, and the outdoor playscape and comply with the professional.
And Madam Chair, one of my questions in the report, and that the school district can elaborate now, are they going to be coming back to the board when they have fully developed plans, assuming the referendum and all that gets passed, or is this the board's only opportunity to comment on the plans?
If I may, I think our past practice has been to come before the board for a courtesy review after the project is designed. So we can show the elevations, we can show more details of the designs, and I think alleviate a lot of the things that we discussed today. We've done that in the past. I'd be, willing, I mean, obviously client will decide, but that has been our past practice.
So the board would be, it sounds like they would be willing to come back before the board when, again, fully developed.
So the architect's willing. I think we need to get.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely. For a courtesy review, yes,
Yeah,
a courtesy
yeah,
review.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
not any type of, any type of major or minor, site plan review, but obviously a courtesy review, sure.
And I think Mr. Calavito said that they agreed that they would come back for the courtesy review.
All right, Mr.
Yes,
Calavito, for the record, to back up what was just stated, you want to raise your right hand, please? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right, and you state your name and your affiliation with the school district.
Robert Calavita. I am the Assistant Superintendent for Finance for the Hopewell Valley Regional School District for the past 22 years.
Okay, you've just stated your cooperation off the record. Now you're on the record testifying that you'll respond to the request of the board.
No, absolutely. And we will work with members of your team as we move through the process, as Mr. Duthie offered.
Thank you.
Looks like we do have a hand raise,
Okay.
Ms. Murphy. Mr. Moore.
All right.
No, I'm sorry. That was inadvertent at this point.
Okay,
Just checking it.
it works.
Okay, so do we have a motion to approve with those conditions? Or actually, it's not approved, so a motion to recommend? Or how do we want to phrase this, Frank?
Motion to make recommendations to the HVSRD.
Okay. Do we have a motion to make those recommendations that I outlined to the Hopewell Valley Regional School District?
So
Anyone?
moved.
Okay. Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. Can you call the roll, please?
Yes. Mr. Atay,
Yes.
Mr. Belmont,
Yes.
Mr. Kuczynski,
Yes.
Ms. Murphy,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Ms. Sandum,
Yes.
Ms. Perdare,
You were muted.
Abstain.
and Mr. Swanson.
Yes.
Great. Mr. Lagman.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.